Please let me know if the screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So very good morning, students. In the last lecture, we had discussed about graph representation techniques. So there are two ways in which we can represent a graph, static and dynamic. Static is in the form of adjacency matrix, and dynamic is in the form of adjacency list. So in adjacency matrix, we have a n by n matrix, and this n by n matrix, in which basically n is the number of vertices in your given graph. Uh, in this matrix, the value is set to be 1 if there is an edge existing between the vertex vi and vj. Then the corresponding cell in that matrix of aij is set to 1. And if there is no edge, then the corresponding value is set to 0. When it comes to undirected graph, then the same edge can be used as 1 2 and 2 1, so corresponding entries of 1 can be written in both the ways. But when it comes to directed graph, we had seen one example, edge 1 2 is different and edge 2 1 is different, right? So depending upon what kind of edge you have in your directed graph, we can represent respective ones in our adjacency matrix. Now, if your graph is sparse in nature, so most of the entries in your matrix would be 0 in that case. If you have less number of edges, then it would lead to sparse matrices, and in that case, the adjacency matrix representation cannot be a fruitful solution. Then we need to go for adjacency list. So in adjacency list representation, we discussed that we will have total n number of linked lists, where n will be number of vertices in your given graph. Each of this linked list will be built considering that particular vertex as the starting vertex for that particular edge. So if it is an undirected graph, then there is no issue. Then the same edge can be used as 1 2 and 2 1 also, right? But when it comes to directed graph, then this linked list are been built considering that these vertices are the starting vertex for that particular edge. So likewise, if you can see in this undirected graph for the vertex 1, we had created nodes of 2, 4 and 3 because 2, 4 and 3 are adjacent to 1. So in the linked list of 1, we are storing 2, 4 and 3. Again, I would like to recall that this linked list is representing the adjacent vertices of 1. I can store these vertices in any sequence. I can store it as 2 4 3. I can store it as 2 3 4, as 4 2 3, 4 3 2, or 3 4 2 and 3 2 4. So any of these combinations are allowed when I'm trying to store the adjacent vertices of 1, because what information I'm trying to convey from first linked list is adjacent vertices of vertex number 1. Actually, there is no relation between 2 and 4 and 4 and 3 and 3 and 2. There is no relation indicating here. For relation of 2 4 and 3, there are independent linked list of 2 3 and 4 over here, right? So for the first linked list, we are only bothered about adjacent vertices of 1, and we are not interested in the sequence in which we are adding the vertices 2 4 and 3. So we have a liberty of adding the vertices in any possible sequence, right? Now when it comes to directed graph, these linked lists are considering that these vertexes are the starting vertex for that respective edges, right? So in case of linked list for 1, I will be adding only such nodes here in which for such edges in which 1 is acting as the source vertex. So if you see in this diagram, for edge 1 2, 1 is acting as the source vertex, so I'll be adding 2 in the linked list of 1. But I will be not adding now 1 in the linked list of 2 because I don't have a edge 2 1, right? This edge is 1 2, so I will not be adding 1 here in the linked list of 2. If I have another edge here in the form of 2 1 like this, which is going from 2 to 1, then I can add one node here in the linked list of 2, right? So we have to create only such adjacent vertices nodes here in which this particular node is acting as the source vertex for that particular edge. It is acting as the source vertex for that particular edge. Now with this, my dear students, we are now going to formulate the representation of this in the form of C program. Okay, so if I want to create this in the form of C program, if I want to build this in the form of C program, how my structure will be? I will be having structure node in which I'll be having the vertex number. Okay, I'm having the vertex number with me, right? And I am having pointer to the next node, because you all can observe here, if whenever I am having node here. This node is nothing but a normal node like my singly linked list node, right? These nodes are nothing but the nodes like my singly linked list node, right? So the node will be like singly linked lists only, right? It will be pointing to the next node only, right? So it will be a kind of singly linked list only. So this will be struct node int vertex struct node pointer to next. Now usually we used to create one external reference pointer, right? We used to create it like this. We used to create it like this. So I used to have one external reference pointer initially, right? This is how we used to do it earlier. But now, my dear friends, if you see how many external reference pointers I do have over here, I have n number of external reference pointers. How many external reference pointers I do have? I have n external reference pointers. How many are there? I have n external reference pointers because I have n linked lists in my graph. I have n linked list for that adjacency list of my graph. So I cannot declare only one external reference pointer. How many external reference pointers I need to declare? I need to declare n external reference pointers. How many I need to declare? I need to declare n external reference pointers, right? And I'm giving some meaningful name over here now. As I'm representing this for my adjacency list, as I'm representing it as an adjacency list, I give here name as adjacency. And for example, if I see here, okay, say for example, I consider this particular graph, say for example. So in this particular graph, how many vertices are there? 4 vertices are there. So I will be declaring here array of pointers. What I will be doing? I will be declaring here array of pointers. I will be declaring here array of pointers. Is it clear? Okay. So this is how I will be declaring this array of pointers, right? Now initially I have to make all these values as null, right? Initially I have to make all these values as null, right? So how I can do that? So I can either write it in the form of a loop. So how I can do that? While I is equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus, adjacency I will be equal to null. So initially all these values will be made as null, right? Initially all these values will be made as null. Is it understood up till now? Initially all these values will be made as null, right? As we make start as null initially, similarly I need to make all the adjacency values initially as null. We have to make all the adjacency values as null, correct? Now I want to build this graph, right? I want to build this graph. So what I need to do, I need to take the input from user. I need to take input from user, correct? So I need to take input for first linked list. I need to take input for second linked list. Then I need to take input for third linked list, then fourth linked list, and so on, right? So what I wish to do here is I wish to take input, right? So I'm writing some function called as void input, which will help me to take input for my graph, which will help me to take input for my graph, which will help me to take input for my graph. Are you getting this? What I'm trying to do with this particular function is, try to understand what I'm trying to do with this particular function is that I'm trying to read all the input of my graph. I'm trying to read all the input of my graph. So how I can take that? I need to do it for n linked lists. So I'll have one for loop for n linked lists. I'll have one for loop for n linked lists. I less than n, I plus plus. Because I need to have n linked lists to be created. I need to have n linked lists. Now in every linked list, there are different number of adjacent vertices. So I need to ask my user first that how many vertices are adjacent to first linked list, how many vertices are adjacent to second linked list, to third linked list, and so on, right? So when I come inside for every linked list, first I need to ask, okay, that how many vertices are adjacent to this vertex, this particular vertex for which we are entering the data. So user will be entering this in the form of a count, right? So we'll take this as some k count. We'll take this input as some k count. Suppose it is int k, right? So now k times we need to create node. So if I enter entries like this, suppose 3, 4, 2. So here I can enter the data in any sequence. I told you, right? We are not bothered in what sequence we are entering the data over here. Correct? We are not bothered about in what sequence we are entering the data over here, right? So what we can do is simply we can either write create at start or create at end logic. We can directly call create at start or create at end logic over here because we want to create that node. How many times? For k times. How many times? For k times. So for that k, I am writing one j loop. J is equal to 0, j plus plus. So k times create node function will be called, right? So here what we will do initially, first we will ask user to enter the data for that particular vertex. Okay, we will write enter the adjacent vertex number. So user will be entering that adjacent vertex number. So in linked list of 1 he will be entering value as 2. Linked list of 1 he will be entering value as 2, right? So that value I am scanning here in the form of value, suppose. So I'm declaring one more variable here, that is value. Okay. Now I want to create node with this value at the end. At the end. So how we do that? Create at end logic will write p is equal to node pointer malloc size of node. This already we have done in the linked list, right? Nothing new I am teaching you. This already we have done in the linked list. P is equal to node pointer malloc size of node, right? Then what next we will be doing? We will be checking whether the linked list is empty or linked list is containing some elements. So if linked list is empty, that time what we used to do, we used to check if start is equal to null. But now here we have starts in the form of, these are our starts, right? Now what are these starts now labeled as? This start is labeled as adjacency of 0. This start is now labeled as adjacency of 1. This is labeled as adjacency of 2 because we have created array of pointers, right? And this is adjacency of 3, right? If you come here and see, this is how we have created node adjacency of array of 4, where I have 4 external reference pointer, that is adjacency of 0, adjacency of 1, adjacency of 2, adjacency of 3, right? So these are nothing but my adjacency of 0, adjacency of 1. Now instead of start, for the first linked list, I'll be referring adjacency of 0. Instead of start in my second linked list, I'll be referring adjacency of 1. Instead of start in the third linked list, I'll be referring adjacency of 2. Similarly, instead of start in the fourth linked list, I'll be referring adjacency of 3. So it is nothing but adjacency of I, because we have one I loop running now inside over here, because we are running it for 4 linked list. So here I'll be using now the label adjacency of I instead of start, right? So when I'm dealing with my first linked list, this adjacency of I will be adjacency of 0. Whenever I'm dealing with the second linked list for entering, this will be turning out to be adjacency of 1. When I'm dealing with the third linked list, this will be turning out to be adjacency of 2. And whenever I'll be dealing with my last linked list, this will be treated as adjacency of 3, right? So if this is found out to be null, means linked list is empty. So when our linked list is empty, what we do, right? What we do, what before that, what we can do, we can take p's data as the value that we have scanned. Okay, so instead of writing a different variable, you can always write this syntax first, and then directly you can scan the value in p's data also. That is also okay. So you can save one variable value over here also, right? So that also can be done. Okay, here what we do, p's next is, when linked list is empty, p's next is null, correct? And start is p we used to write. Now here what is start? It is adjacency of, what is start? Start is adjacency of I. So start is p. That start is p statement is now written as adjacency of I is p. Try to understand, students. Now start is labeled as the external reference pointer here in the form of adjacency. For first linked list is adjacency of 0, second linked list is adjacency of 1, and so on till the last linked list, that is adjacency of n minus 1. Right? So that can be accessed using adjacency of I. So wherever we used to write start in our syntax, now we are going to replace it by adjacency of I. As simple as that. In the else part, when the linked list is not empty, we create it at end, or you can create it at start also. There is no problem at all. Creating at end will require more logic to be written, right? Creating at start is more easy, so you can write create at start logic also. So if I write create at start logic, then what I need to do? Then I need to make p's next as existing start. So if I make p's next as existing start, means existing start is adjacency of I. Instead of start, I am going to write adjacency of I. So p's next is existing start. So p's next is adjacency of I, and then I change the value of start, right? So start is p. So that I write in the form of adjacency of I is p. So this code is nothing but create at start. Try to understand, students. This code is nothing but create at start. This code is nothing but create at start. Correct? This code is nothing but create at start. Only difference is wherever we used to label it in the form of start, now we are labeling it in the form of adjacency pointers. We are labeling it in the form of adjacency pointers. Is it understood? Yes, any queries up till now? Anyone? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, any doubts, any queries? Yes. Am I audible, students?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just to reiterate once again, first this for loop will iterate for n linked lists. Every linked list will have some number of adjacent vertices, right? So it will first ask that how many vertices are adjacent. For those many number of times, I need to call some create function. So we are calling create at start. So k times it will call. So first value of I will be 0. We will be dealing with adjacency of 0. That is our first linked list. In that, I will enter adjacent vertices as 1. So this j loop will run for one time, where I'll come inside and I'll create one node in that linked list with the logic of create at start. Then this j loop will close. I'll again go back, value of I will be incremented, value of I will become 1. I'll be dealing with my second linked list. For that, again I'll ask my user that how many vertices are adjacent to my second linked list. So for my second linked list, I'll enter that my count of k is 2. My count of k is 2. So this for loop of j will now run for 2 times. In that, now I'll be dealing with adjacency of 1 because value of I is 1. So first it will create with malloc. Here now initially linked list will be empty, so it will come in this if part for creating the first node. Next time again this value of j will be incremented and the second value will be scanned. But now linked list with second linked list is not empty, it will come in the else part and my second node of my second linked list will be created. Now again the loop of j will be finished. I will go back in the loop of I, where value of I will be incremented. Now value of I will be 2 and I'll be dealing with my third linked list. Value of I will be 2 and I'll be dealing with my third linked list, right? In which again I'll ask my user that how many vertices are adjacent to this particular vertex. Here I'll be entering the data as 1. Here I'll be entering the data as 1. So this loop of j will be running for one time with adjacency of 2. With adjacency of 2. Correct? Now in this, initially the linked list will be empty. So in this if part only my only node will be created. J loop will break. Again I'll come back. Value of I will be incremented. Now I'll be dealing with my fourth linked list. I'll be dealing with my fourth linked list with adjacency of 3. With adjacency of 3, in which again I'll ask my user that how many vertices are adjacent to this fourth linked list, in which I'll be entering the value of count of k as 1, for which again the loop of j will be iterated. and one node will be created with linked list is empty, so it will come in this if loop with adjacency of 3, and the node will be created. Loop of j will be finished because I am entering only one node. It will go back again to the I loop. Now again i's loop will be finished because we are dealing with only 4 vertices, and for loop of I will be finished, and my entire input is scanned of my graph. Entire input is scanned of my graph. Is this clear? Is this understood? Yes.
Yes,
Similarly,
sir.
similarly, I can also write some print function for printing my graph. I can write some print function for print. I need to print now not only one linked list, but I need to print now multiple linked list. I need to print now multiple linked list. I need to print now multiple linked list, right? So for printing multiple linked list, I need to write a for loop. For printing multiple linked list, I need to write a for loop, right? I need to write a for loop. So this for loop will be for now n linked list. This will be for n linked list, right? So for I is equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. And inside this now I'll be having logic of my traverse. Inside this now I will be having logic for my traverse for n linked list. This traverse will be done for n linked lists, right? So how we do traverse? We start from the first node, we keep on printing the value and we reach till end, right? So initially what we do, we take one node pointer for traversing purpose, so that I take in the form of q. This we have already done, right? So what is initial value of this q in the traverse? Usually it is start. Usually it is start, right? Usually it is start. So what will be the initial value over here? Can anyone tell me what will be the initial value over here? Yes,
Adjacency of I.
very good. This initial value will be adjacency of I. This initial value will be adjacency of I. Correct? This initial value will be adjacency of I. Why? Because now I am labeling my start as adjacency of I. I am labeling my start as adjacency of I. Correct? I am labeling my initial value of start as adjacency of I. Next, what we will be doing? Yes, can anyone tell me? Yes? Anyone? Yes, anyone? For traverse, we have to do simple traverse. Nothing new I am teaching you. No one? Yes? Am I audible, students?
Yes,
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what will be the next thing? Once we say that q is equal to start, after that what we write in the traverse? You don't remember traverse code? No one? Roll number 35. Is he present in the lecture? Roll number 35.
Sir,
What is the traverse code?
we are printing that point q's next data.
After this statement, what we write? After q is equal to start, what is the next statement in the traverse
While
logic?
that
And then from
point,
last 10 minutes, I am asking why you are not replying. Why I need to pinpoint a roll number and ask you people? 10 times I am asking from last 5 minutes. Yes, while, what is the syntax?
while q is not equal to null.
While q is not equal to null.
Null.
Yes, what we do inside?
Printf %d q's data.
Correct. We printf percentage d, and we print queues data, right? So we'll print everything on a tab so that it will look like a linked list, right? After that, what we do? After
Q is equal
printing q is equal to queues next. Q is equal to queues next. And after I finish my first linked list, what I'll do is I'll put a slash n over here because I'll have n linked lists now. So first I'll come in the for loop, value of I will be 0, right? So it will come initially q will become adjacency of 0. Initially q will become adjacency of 0, right? So it will come here while q is not equal to null. While q is not equal to null, we will perform a printf percentage d t queues data. So all the nodes of my first linked list will be printed using this while loop, right? It will jump to next, and whatever number of count is there, all those adjacent vertices of my first linked list will be printed. Once all the nodes are printed, then I'll put a new line. Then I'll go to my second linked list with adjacency of 1. In that adjacency of 1, again I will keep on printing all the vertices which are adjacent to 1 by doing this traverse of my second linked list, which is adjacency of 1. Again at the end of that list I'll make a slash n, then I'll go value of I will become as 2. I am dealing with my third linked list, initial value of q will become adjacency of 2, and I'll traverse all the nodes of my third linked list which are dealing with adjacency of 2 using this while loop again. Again slash n will be done. This process will be continued for all the n vertices. N means here it is 4 in our example. It is 4 in our example, right? So I'm writing direct 4 over here. Is it clear? How did I print it? Yes. Anyone is having any queries?
Yes.
Any doubts? Anyone having any doubts?
No,
Yes,
sir.
students. No, shall we move ahead then? See now, for traversing these linked lists, we have two graph traversal techniques. What we did right now was just printing the data. It was not a traversal. It was not a traversal. So if I traverse my linked list, I have two graph traversal techniques. So our next article is graph traversal technique. Our next article that we are going to discuss is graph traversal techniques. Graph traversal techniques. So there are two techniques, graph traversal techniques, which we need to discuss in our curriculum. All of you make note of this. The first graph traversal technique is breadth first search traversal. BFT we call it as. Breadth first traversal. Breadth first traversal. Second is depth first traversal. Second technique is depth first traversal. So let us discuss these techniques one by one. Okay. So in order to make you understand these techniques, I'll take an example. So first we'll start with the breadth first traversal. So I'll take one graph first so that it will be easy for you to understand the concept of BFT. So first of all, I'm constructing one graph. All of you draw this graph in your notebooks also. Simultaneously, all of you are requested to draw this graph in your notebooks also. Draw this graph in your notebooks. All of you draw this graph in your notebooks. Take down this graph, all of you. We are going to see how we can find breadth first traversal for this particular graph. breadth first traversal for this particular graph. Now my first question is, can anyone tell me whether this is a tree? Yes, roll number 12. Roll number 12. Can you answer this? Roll number 12. Roll number 12. Are you present? Is roll number 12 present in the lecture? Can anyone confirm? Am I audible? Am I audible, students?
Yes, sir. Thanks, sir.
Roll number 12 is present.
No, sir.
She is not present. Okay. Do we have roll number 19? Roll number 19?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Can you tell me whether this is a tree?
I think no, sir, because H has multiple parent nodes.
Correct. Which vertex you can find multiple parent nodes?
H.
Correct. So very good. So it is a correct answer. I cannot call this as a tree. Okay, it is not a tree. It is a graph, but it is not a tree because H is having multiple parent nodes, and that's why we are getting certain cycles also over here. And cycles are not allowed. When we define tree with respect to graph, we had studied that it should be connected and there should be no cycles. But here we have cycles formed, right? So this cannot be called as a tree, but this is a graph. Now coming back to traversal techniques, we are going to see breadth first traversal first, right? So in breadth first traversal, we are, for every node, we are trying to maintain two types of information. What are those? One is visiting a particular node. First is visiting a particular node, and second is exploring a particular node or vertex, we can say. What are the two things that we wish to do? Again, I repeat, what all things we need to do? One is visiting the node or vertex, and second is exploring the node or the vertex. Visiting the node or the vertex, and second is exploring the node or the vertex. Now, visiting, what is the meaning of visiting? Visiting means just printing the data. What is meaning of visiting? So if I say I want to visit A, visiting is nothing but just printing this data of this particular vertex. So if I print A, I say that A is visited. If I print A, then I say that A is visited, right? What is the second thing? This is the most important thing, that is exploring a vertex. Exploring a vertex. Now what is concept of exploring a vertex? A vertex is said to be explored if I visit all vertices adjacent to this vertex. If I visit all the vertices adjacent to this vertex. Are you getting this? So if I visit B and C, say for example, if I visit B and C, then A will become explored. Are you getting this? If I visit B and C, A will become explored. Our objective in breadth first traversal is to explore all the vertices. What is our objective? Our objective is to explore all the vertices. So we have to start from somewhere. Now this starting vertex will be given to you, right? It will be given to you. So if I say you that A is the starting vertex, whether A will be starting vertex every time? No. Here I don't have a concept like root and something. This is a graph. Any vertex can be treated as the starting vertex. So if in the problem starting vertex is given to you, it is okay. If it is not given to you, you can make an assumption. So you can write like assume A as the starting vertex and you can solve. Are you getting this? So here consider that A is your starting vertex. Consider that A is your starting vertex. Now initially I can visit A. Initially I can visit A and print A, but I cannot call that A is explored. So what I do, I visit A. So if I visit A will come in my output. So this is my output, suppose. So if I visit A will come in my output, right? But whether A is explored? No, yet A is not explored. Yet my A is not explored. Yet my A is not explored. So for exploring A, what I need to do? I need to visit its adjacent vertices, right? I need to visit its adjacent vertices. So initially for me, A was unexplored. Initially for me, A was unexplored. It was unexplored, right? Initially A was unexplored. So for exploring this A, I visited B and C. How I visited B and C? By looking at the adjacency list of A. We have that adjacency list in our graph stored. My first linked list is adjacency of A, right? So from that I'll get data B and C. Now how I'll get data B and C? If I store in the form of B and C, then I'll get B and C in the output. But I told you that whenever I store my adjacency list, I can store either BC or I can also store CB because the sequence is not important. So ACB is also a correct answer. See my dear students, ACB is also correct answer. Why? Because while storing the data in the adjacency list, we had that liberty that in any possible sequence, we could enter the adjacent vertices of A, right? So whether I write B or C or B is not important for me, right? So one possible combination I'm considering initially. Suppose I have stored it in the form of B and C. So what will happen? B and C are visited. B and C are visited. But are B and C explored? No. So B and C are yet not explored. So I'll add them over here also. But now A is explored. But now A is explored. Why is A is explored? Because B and C are visited. Because B and C are visited. Now our task is to explore B first. This is very important. If my B is visited first, then B should be explored first. So it is like a queue, first come first serve. Here I am maintaining a queue of explored data, explored vertices we can say, unexplored vertices. So I am exploring the vertices from this unexplored vertices in the form of a queue. As this B is written first over here, then my objective is to explore B first. So for exploring B, which vertices I need to visit? All the adjacent vertices of B. Which are the adjacent vertices of B? A, D and E. Very important. A is also adjacent vertex of B because now in the linked list of B, I'll be having A, D and E. In the linked list of B, I'll be having A, D and E. But as A is already visited, I will not visit it again. As A is already visited, I'll not visit A again. So I'll be visiting D and E. I'll be visiting D and E. And as D and E are visited, they are also coming in the loop now of logic of unexplored vertices. And as D and E are visited, now B has become explored. Now B has become explored. Are you getting this? Now next, which vertex has to be explored? C has to be explored. Which vertex has to be explored? C has to be explored. So for exploring C, what we will be doing? What are the adjacent vertices of C? A, F and G. Now again here my dear students, you must have stored in the form of AFG or AGF or FAG or FGA, any possible sequence, or GFA or GAF, right? So here you may get multiple sequences of answer. Only A will not be repeated, but I can either get FG or I can get GF. If I am getting FG, first F will come here and first exploring of F will be done later on, right? That is very important. How I write here in the visiting sequence, it totally depends on how I have stored the data in my adjacency list. Are you getting this? So if I am writing here in the form of FG, so what will happen? As F and G are now new visited, these are not yet explored, so F and G will be added over here, but now C will be treated as explored. C will be treated as explored. Now my next task is to explore D. My next task is to explore D because we have to go in this sequence only, right? Next task is to explore D. So for exploring D, I will observe the adjacent vertices of D. Which are the adjacent vertices of D? B and H. Which are the adjacent vertices of D? B and H. B is already visited, so I'll not visit B, but I'll visit H. And as I have visited H, I'll also add that H now in my unexplored vertices. I'll add that H in my unexplored vertices. And as B and H both are visited now, I can tell that D is explored. I can tell that D is explored. Now for exploring E, I have to visit all the adjacent vertices of E. So I'll go and check what are the adjacent vertices of E, B and H. But now my dear students, B and H are already visited. B and H are already visited. So indirectly I can also say now E is also explored. E is also explored. Then I'll move now to F. For exploring F, I'll go in the diagram in the adjacency list of F. In the adjacency list of F, I'll be having C and H. And as C and H are already visited, I can say that F is also explored. I'll further go to G and I'll check adjacent vertices of G in the adjacency list of G. In adjacency of list of G, I'll be having C and H. And as C and H are already visited, I can also say that G is also explored. And finally, I'll go to H. I'll check for exploring H, I'll check the adjacent vertices of H in the adjacency list of H, in which I'll be having D, E, F, G. And as D, E, F, G are already visited, I can say that H is also explored. Once all my vertices are explored, in this sequence, whatever output I get is the traversal output. Is this clear, my dear students? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is it understood? Now what we understand from this is, see, my answer of traversal here will not be unique. Why it will not be unique? Because someone can write like this also, ACB, right? As I told you, someone can write like this also, ACB. Looking at this diagram, someone can write ACB. But if he has written ACB, his first task will be now to explore C. For exploring C, my next answer should be either FG or GF. Any of these answers are allowed over here. So here it should be FG. Now I cannot write exploring of B over here. No, that will be a wrong traversal. Because if I have written C here, first exploring of C has to be done. So respective visitings has to be done over here. So either it can be FG or it can be GF with respect to our example. Then it will be for B. So for B, either it will be DE or ED. And then it will be for F. With respect to F, then I'll be visiting H. So this can also be treated as one possible answer, right? So what we understand from this also is, I may have multiple correct traversal answers, right? If I have been given a graph like this, I can get different correct answers. But if I write one answer like this, A, B, C, and after that I am writing FG, whether this is correct answer? No, this cannot be a correct answer, because if I have written B over here, then these two things are invalid. Then exploring of B has to be done first, and then I cannot get F and G over here. Either I can get D over here at this position, or I can get E over here in this position. So this is not the correct traversal answer. Are you getting this? So multiple answers can be correct. So these type of questions usually we get in GATE examination, where 3 answers are correct and 1 answer is wrong, or 3 answers are wrong and 1 answer is correct. And our objective is to find that correct or wrong answer for breadth first traversal. Are you getting this? Now, if you have been given a diagram, then you have a liberty of thinking either I can store B or C, right? But suppose, my dear students, suppose instead of diagram, if suppose they have given you the list itself, if this is given to you as an input, okay, then suppose this is your diagram, and suppose they have given you that your starting vertex is 1. Then while writing traversal, now my output will be how? 1, right? 1. Then after 1, what has to be visited for exploring 1? 2, 4, and then 3 only. Because if list is given to you as an input in the question, you need to consider only this sequence. Now I cannot look at the diagram. If diagram is given, I have that liberty of writing it in any sequence. But if a list is given, you have to process the data as per this list only. Then my output now here will be 1, 2, 4, 3. Now for exploring 2, I have to visit 1 and 4, but 1 is already visited and 4 is also already visited. So 2 is also explored, right? Then next is exploring 4. For exploring 4, I will be visiting 1, 2, 3, 4. They are already visited. So indirectly 4 is also explored. Indirectly, oh, there is some mistake in this or what? For 4, I have not included. Oh, this has to be 5. There is some mistake over here. This is 1, 2, 3, and 5. Okay, this is 1, 2, 3, and 5. So I'll be visiting 5 over here. I'll be visiting 5 over here, right? So once I visit 5, then I'll come back. I'll go to 3 now. 3 will also be treated as explored, right? Then I'll go to 5, and now 5 will also be treated as explored. Once here my exploring is done, my traversal is done. See, my dear students, now I am not visiting 6 over here because it is not possible to traverse to 6 from 1. This traversal is from 1 because starting vertex given was 1. So it is not the case that all vertices will be visited and explored. No. No. If a particular vertex is isolated or if my graph is unconnected, so I cannot go from one part of my graph to another part of my graph using traversal. So those vertices will not come in my traversal. Our objective is not to print everything. Okay, don't do that mistake. With respect to a given starting vertex, if a list is given, we have to process that list in the same sequence. And if the diagram is given, you have liberty of picking it in any sequence. But I cannot go to an unconnected component of my graph, or I cannot go to those isolated vertex, because those will not come in that case. Here I will not get 6 in my answer. Is it clear, my dear students? Is the example understood of breadth first traversal? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Was this
Yes.
example understood? Yes, we'll discuss more example and we'll discuss depth first traversal and more such techniques in tomorrow's lecture. Okay, we'll stop for today. Let me take the attendance first. I'm closing the screen sharing. Just hold on for a moment.